Lara Clava, welcome back. Just a wee bit of housekeeping before we get started here. If you're here for the whole Hogwarts Legacy stuff, I'll maybe be doing one more video, but then after that, there's not really very much I can say. I made one video fucking about, and somehow that got 2,300 views. Pretty impressed with that, but I mean, it was clickbaity tactics. Comic book reviews will be coming back probably the week starting Monday the 13th, so that's next Monday by the time I'm recording this. And I'll probably still continue ladder rambles and different subjects that I have because they're easy to record and I can just pump them out. I'm talking about this whole James Gunn DC Rebirth situation that's going on. He's released a video. There's been a lot of talk about it the last couple of months that James Gunn was rebirthing DC, and now he's actually come out and give us a roadmap of what we should expect to see. And the first thing in the video that he talks about is that he wants characters to be consistent between movies, TV, video games and animations, played by the same actors and all within the one story. And the one that stands out to me there is the video games. Could this mean that we're getting movie video games again? Because I would love to see those coming back. Yeah, sure, the period of video game movies, they were always rushed before they came out, but it would be kind of interesting seeing that coming back again. I don't know how I would feel about video games that take place between stories, because you could have video games coming out and they can be complete and utter shit, and you would still have to, play through it or at least get some sort of synopsis through it to understand the grander scale of things. Then he talks about Elseworlds story, Matt Reeves' Batman and Todd Phillips' Joker, and I'm glad that those are part of Elseworlds and they're not part of the main story, because they're fucking shite. I hate them. I hate them with a passion. I understand they're very popular and people have been loving them, but I think they're boring, drab, they rip off better movies. You've got the Joker ripping off Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, and you've got Matt Reeves' Batman, which is just a David Fincher fucking mashup. If these movies were part of the main DC universe, I wouldn't even fucking stay around for it. I'll probably give the next Batman and the next Joker movies a go, but thank fuck they are not part of the main DC universe, because I feel like Christopher Nolan somehow made the perfect Batman movie where it was just brooding enough and exciting enough to keep you hooked, and then after that they went, oh, brooding is great, we should make them more brooding, but they left out the exciting part. There was one part of the Batman that I thought, oh, this is actually getting interesting, and that, spoiler alert by the way, that was whenever they blew up the vans at the seawall and the water was rushing into the city, and for about 30 seconds I was like, this movie's getting interesting, and then after that it was shite. But anyway, happy about that. He goes on to talk about Shazam Fury of the Gods. Okay, I liked the first Shazam, thought it was alright. We'll see where the next one goes. I watched about 10 minutes of Black Adam and I was like, I'll probably give that one another go. Then he started talking about The Flash. This was going to reboot the DC universe overall. So obviously they're going for a Flashpoint storyline. We've known that for a while now. We've got the Michael Keaton photographs of him in the Batsuit and everything. I wonder, are they going to stick with Ezra Miller for this last movie, and then after the Flash movie's over and done with, they'll recast him or something? I don't know, but I'm retreading old ground here. Plenty of people have said it. After everything Ezra Miller has done, I don't think it's a wise idea to keep them on. There's also no word of them dropping Amber Heard. Everyone else seems to have, but DC's kind of kept quiet about that. Then we get on to Blue Beetle, and this is the first moment where James Gunn has to drop the word Marvel in there. He's a marvelous part of the DCU. Oh, I don't like that. Is that foreshadowing? Is James Gunn just like the word marvelous, or is he trying to hint at something there? If this becomes more like the MCU, nah, it's not for me. It's not for me. Aquaman 2 after that. Now, it's very interesting that we have Aquaman 2 after the reset. So that means Aquaman 2 will be set in the future canon. We knew that Jason Momoa was staying on, but does that mean that Aquaman 2 technically won't be a sequel to the first one because the universe is reset? We'll have to see where that goes. So he goes on and he talks about he's got an 8 to 10 year plan here, just like Marvel phases, the way they work. Chapter 1's called Gods and Monsters. I think that's a reference to something. I'm not 100% sure. So he started talking about creature commandos. It's James Gunn's usual trope of bringing really obscure characters and bringing them forward to the forefront, like Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, etc, etc. He started talking about how characters are going to move in and out of animation, and he said usually having the same person playing the same characters. Now that's a key word, usually, and this is a very smart business choice, because if somebody playing a character gets too famous and they want to cut down on the budget, well then they don't don't have to pay the actors as much and they could get an impersonator in, and that's a smart idea, although they would have to step up their animation department compared to what they're using at the minute. I'm not saying that the animated movies at the minute are bad. I really enjoy them. I watch quite a few of them. I watched Batman Hush the other night. I think they're really good, although the animation to them is passable, and passable isn't great. It's not like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The animation to it was great. I feel like they would need to be hitting something like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to become more successful. Then he announced Waller. Viola Davis is reprising her role. Great casting choice, but I'm worried about this one. I'm not 100% sure about Waller as the lead. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Waller as a character, but I'm worried that they're trying to make her more relatable. It depends on how they play it, because I prefer Amanda Waller as like this cold-hearted bitch who will fuck up anybody to achieve her goals. Because if you have her as the main character, could you really stick to that kind of character art, or would it just feel very samey? I haven't read the comic, so I couldn't tell you how they go, but we'll see where this one goes. I heard a rumour that that's going to lead into Peacemaker 2. Peacemaker 1, yeah, it was pretty good. Then he started talking about Superman Legacy. It's written by Gunn himself. He's going to have to walk a really thin line with Superman, because although I like the Snyder one, I can see what people don't like the Snyder stuff. I found Batman vs Superman, despite its flaws, I found it a very watchable movie. I've watched it a few times, although I've never watched the theatrical cut. I've only watched the one they released after. I don't know what you call it, the extended or whatever. I feel like whenever James Gunn came into Marvel, his style of writing kind of overtook everybody in Marvel, where they're very quippy and they're always joking. And I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of that. So when he's writing this one, you can have a bit of comedy in there, but I don't want Superman to be like throwing quips here and there and everywhere and just constantly quipping like Spider-Man. It's released on July 11th, 2025. That's quite a bit away. He never put a date on Flashpoint, I don't think, but we'll see. 2-year wait for Superman. Then they started talking about lanterns, and he only had a wee bit of a concept art for this as well. He described it as True Detective in space. So I get it. You have to give people a vibe for the show, but I don't like how everything has to be described. Oh, it's like this show, but this. That seems to be the way a lot of stuff are going these days, and there's an example of this later on. We've got Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan teaming up, which I haven't read any comics if they've ever teamed up, but that sounds like an awesome lineup. Jon Stewart, from the concept art, looks like he's going to be a Yellow Lantern. That looks pretty cool. Then he talked about the Authority. This is the second time he said marvelous, and I don't like that. Leave the word marvelous out of this. Just don't say Marvel. But yeah, they think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. Okay, blah blah blah. Moving on to Paradise Lost, set in Paradise Island, also known as Themyscira. And again, it's like Game of Thrones, and we've heard this a lot. I think it was from back whenever Marvel made The Inhumans. Oh, it's like Game of Thrones. Everything has to be fucking Game of Thrones these days. It feels like you're just trying to throw a Game of Thrones TV show into everything, but it will never be Game of Thrones. The Brave and the Bold. Do they use the artwork from Grant Morrison's run where Dick Grayson's Batman? But he doesn't mention Dick Grayson. I don't know if this is because they want to put their own spin on the story and have Bruce Wayne in it, or because they want to surprise people who don't know much about comics. But that second one doesn't sound too likely, because I don't know many people who don't know much about comics who'd be watching that in the first place. Talks about Booster Gold. Know nothing about Booster Gold. He's a loser from the future that can come back in time. I may have read a wee bit about him in some comics, like I may have read some events with him in it, but I just know nothing about him. This bit made me really worried. He goes, Tom King's run of Supergirl was his favourite comic of last year. Now, I've never read Supergirl, but everything else that Tom King has read has been fucking shite. Show me something that Tom King has written, and if I enjoy it, I'll send you a fucking dick pic. That's how confident I am, because Tom King can't write for shit. He ruined Rorschach, he ruined Batman. Yeah, fuck Tom King. Swamp Thing. We're getting more Swamp Thing. I watched a couple of episodes of that Swamp Thing TV show that came out like 2020, I think it was. I'm not 100% sure, but it was cancelled before the fucking season came out. I'm pretty sure it was like just as it was about to come out, they were like, yeah, there's not going to be any more seasons of it. And by that point, yeah, I watched a couple of episodes and I was like, what's the point of even fucking continue this on? He says it's going to be tonally different to the rest of the DCU. Does that mean we're going back to horror again? I haven't read Alan Moore's run, but I don't think it was very horror. I think it was more introspective. But yeah, fuck it. I like the design of Swamp Thing. I've seen him in a couple of things, and I'll be interested to see what to do with that. And then he finished it off with, I love DC characters since I was a child. Very important, once in a lifetime opportunity, blah, blah, blah. But then he used the word different like 3 times. He was like, I can't wait for you to see something different. He doesn't say it like that, but that makes me very curious as to what he means by different. But yeah, in conclusion, I've got 2 worries about the DCU. The first worry is he's just gonna make it this, everyone's joking all the time, that's all they're doing. Jokes here, jokes there, jokes everywhere. Then whenever the emotional parts hit, like if you watch any of the latest Marvel stuff, it's all jokes, and then whenever emotional points hit, you don't even feel it because all you've been hearing is jokes the entire way through. There's no real character development. And my second worry is a couple of movies that he starts off the 8-movie run with won't be making money, and then whoever owns DC these days, is AT&T still, I don't know, they'll just decide to end up canning the whole thing and James Gunn won't even get a shot. But I mean, I have no real ties to any superhero movies these days. If they're good, they're good. If not, I'll just drop it and away I go. I'm not going to sit around like some YouTubers out there and go, oh, this is fucking shite and woke this and woke that. No, if it's good, I'll watch it. If it's not, then fuck it. I might even go back and watch Marvel again whenever Secret Wars comes out, because if they pull it off, like, that's something I would always love to see on the screen with Secret Wars. But yeah, that'll do it for now. Bye.